Hey everyone, I'm back again and in orange, no less, as you've come to expect. Anyways, I recently discovered the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance. I'm pretty sure I discovered it years ago and then I forgot about it. I rediscovered it again. But, anyways, it's an organization that really wants to make you accept fat as a normal thing, as if it's healthy and that you can be fat and you can be healthy, and to really categorize the word obesity as a slur. That's the gist of it. But anyways, I came across they had a 2024 fat resilience and fat resistance article that they were really planning for the election, and then they had a follow-up that they released in January about fat resilience and fat resistance part two. I thought we could read through it and kind of see what their game plan is going forward and how they're really going to fight for the cause in the years to come. Let's check it out. So it turns out they were really upset by the election. I have no opinion on this. It does not matter to me who you voted for, as long as we can all agree that fat acceptance is basically bullshit. Yes, I edited out that word there, but it had to be said. And this is by Tigress Osborne. We know she's like the leader of this organization or something, and she had a lot to say in November. Okay, so let's see what she was saying back then. Just days after the November election, I attended the Social Impact Summit, a gathering of nonprofit leaders at East LA College. It was a diverse group of over 350 organizational leaders, staff, and volunteers from a wide variety of causes. We came together on the theme of thriving, but for so many of our organizations, post-election realities will shift our focus away from thriving. Simply surviving will be even more difficult for many of us and for many of the communities we serve. And I'm not sure how that relates to fatness, but I'm sure she's going to tell us. Nonprofits are bracing ourselves for how big changes in the government will affect our work when president-elect, blah, blah. So out here they're talking about how they're thinking policy changes and nonprofits are going to change based on when the new president comes in. And she's talking about how it's going to affect LGBTQ rights, how it's going to affect women, it's going to affect all these different communities, right? And she says there are fat people in all of those communities. On top of all the life-threatening changes they will be facing, they will also be facing medical weight bias, anti-fat employment discrimination, and housing insecurity compounded by size discrimination. I guess we're just supposed to believe her that this is going to happen. Racial stereotypes will be compounded by anti-fat stereotypes for the BIPOC communities that will certainly experience more violence. Okay, so she's saying that they'll experience more violence because of how she thinks more people are fat. Reproductive health options will be limited by BMI cutoffs and ineffective products for higher weight people. Fat people who are displaced will need extended size clothes. Fat people who are enduring food scarcity will be told they couldn't possibly actually need food. I just love how there's so many assumptions being made here. There's so many assumptions being made here. And I guess we have the next 4 years to find out if it's true. These concerns and more have always been present in the intersections of fat justice and other causes. So when people ask why we should focus on fat activism when there are so many pressing things to worry about, here's the answer. Fat liberation is part of every urgent social justice issue. Goes back to what I said, guys. No one is free until we're all free. Not only that, fat people are part of every solution. There is no resistance that is made up of only thin, able-bodied people. Even the far right knows this, with their jokes about fat girls leading protests and tank divisions of fat elders on scooters. We get mocked for being fat people doing social justice work because we are fat people doing social justice work, not just for fat rights, as we do at NAAFA, but for all marginalized people. So now she's offended people making jokes about them. And it's funny to me that this is the case because, like, there's definitely fat people who are conservative. They're everywhere. Like, go to the South, go to the Midwest where I live, everybody here is fat. Sorry to say. There's also lots of conservatives. Fat does not discriminate on your political beliefs. As far as I could tell, I was the only person at the Social Impact Summit representing a fat-specific organization. But as I looked around the gathering, there were so many fat people there. It's no surprise to me. I already know that when you gather a bunch of people who are trying to build a better world, fat people will be among the folks who show up to do the work. We do this despite often showing up to places that are unwelcoming and unaccommodating to us. Even within social justice spaces, I wasn't the only fat person at the workshop taking my notes from an awkward angle because the one-size-fits-all seating forced me to sit sideways in a desk that wasn't made for me. But I will probably be the only one to follow up with the planners to let them know that if they want fat people to show up for the resistance, they have to make space for us. I mean, that does suck to sit in uncomfortable seating. But I like how she's like using fat as a leverage. It's like the fat people will not show up. And it's like, I really, really, really wonder if that's just her or all fat people, or that's because she cares about it. We don't know. And that's what makes NAAFA work unique in this moment. We keep fat people's needs on the radar. Anti-fatness grows out of the same capitalist and nationalist objectives. Always about capitalism. Socialists, be aware of this and stand to endanger so many of us. Maintaining pushback against anti-fatness is essential in the midst of everything else we have to fight for. Fat advocacy matters, not just for fat people, but to all people, because no one is free until we're all free. Yeah. So anyways, she was very upset. back in November, as you can tell. And she's like, let me talk about how I went to a conference to talk about how I was going to fight back and I couldn't even fit in the seat. I do think, though, it is a problem for your movement if you can't fit into spaces, right? And so instead of saying, I need to change myself to fit into a space and so I can change the world, it's like, I'm expecting the world to change for me so that I can change the world. It doesn't make sense. And I think if she's waiting for the world to change so that she can actively participate in that like movement, she's gonna be waiting a really long time. And I really don't think it's gonna happen the way she thinks it does. So I guess we have nothing to worry about at the end of the day. But she's like, we're not gonna show up and help you if you're not gonna be more accommodating to us. But if they're the resistance, but I don't think that she understands that if you're the resistance, you don't actually have as much leverage to say things like that, right? You really do have to like, get your act in order to make any kind of effective change, right? We can't sit around and just complain about the seat sizes. But she did have a follow-up article, as I said, where she talks more about this. It's from January. Let's see what the plans are for 2025 going forward. Fat resilience and fat resistance part 2, intersectional solidarity in 2025. So she's saying, guys, we got to all work together, okay? We got to all work together if we want to make a difference. By the time you're reading this newsletter, the world will have witnessed the second presidential inauguration of Donald Trump. Like many of you and like most social justice organizations, we are bracing for the impacts of changes in the federal government, the media, and other institutions in the wake of the new administration. Major shifts in the political landscape will always impact NAAFA's work. NAAFA is a nonpartisan organization. Really? Because in the last article, you're talking about how him coming into office was going to really, really affect your ability to do stuff. So I want to look at your donations. I want to see who you're donating to. This should never be confused with NAAFA being an apolitical organization. Okay. She does clarify it a little bit. We are political in every sense of the word. Our politics today include a deeper, more explicit intersectional commitment than we've ever had. Well, I'm sorry though. If you're using the word intersectional commitment, we know what side you support. People have a pretty good idea of that you're partisan in some way. I'm skipping that part. NAAFA is co-founded by the Campaign for Size Freedom because we know that legislation, law, and government policies have huge impacts on fat lives. We know that the fat community voices and needs have to be represented within the systems that exist now as much as possible. We knew that legislative change would be a long-haul fight. Today's political climate, long before the November election and this month's inauguration, have been wrought with conservative disdain for any social justice causes that can be labeled woke. Treating fat people fairly has been labeled woke politics, something liberals do because they're coddling us instead of punishing us for having the nerve to exist in non-normative bodies. Wait. Who's at fault here? So conservatives have disdain. Liberals are coddling. Wait, what? Treating fat people fairly has been labeled woke politics, something liberals do because they're coddling us instead of punishing us for having the nerve to exist in non-normative bodies. I'm just reading this again and again. So is she putting down liberals? Because that does tell me something. That does tell me that she is socialist. Okay, she's basically saying that liberals are infantilizing them rather than supporting them. That is what seems to be the case. So she's like saying conservatives and liberals both have it wrong. And as we all know, socialists hate liberals too. So size freedom laws, those that add height and weight to protected classes under civil rights law, can seem impossible in this atmosphere, but they have always seemed impossible, and committed people have been able to get the job done in some places. We're going to keep trying for more. NAAFA will continue to work within the system for fat justice regardless of who is in office. We do not believe that legislation is liberation, but we do believe that change to government policies can be a powerful part of improving fat people's lives. We also continue to use other strategies to change perceptions of fat, to end size discrimination, and to work in solidarity with all who share liberatory values. She didn't say liberal values, she said liberatory values, because it's about liberation. We'll continue the essential work of creating community spaces where fat people can find solidarity and celebration, where we can dream together and create together, because every movement needs art and laughter. Okay. So basically they're saying they're just going to focus on any discrimination, perception, and working together with other people. Okay, that's very straightforward. I was kind of hoping for something a little bit more. NAAFA has served fat people through 11 U.S. presidential administrations. This is not the first time fat rights work has been an uphill battle, and it won't be the last. We have fought for fat community for over 5 decades, no matter who was in the White House, the State House, or anywhere else in the government. As we fight even harder for fat people, we have to fight even harder in solidarity with other communities. Donate today, guys. If you want to donate to this cause, go ahead. There it is right there. So yeah, she's like, give us more money so that we can end size discrimination and go to more protests. That's basically what I got out of that. So it's funny because as I was reading that, it's like, oh, we know that you're partisan. But the thing is like, if she's defining partisanship as the left-wing government and the right-wing government, then yeah, I don't think she's actually partisan. I really think she does not like both sides, but just based on the vocabulary that she was using, and her directly calling out liberals in there, it seems to me like she's likely very, very far left. And when you're that far left, you're like, no, liberals are, yeah, they may be one side of the issue, but they're still essentially right wing. And not to get too much into politics, but as she said, this is not an apolitical issue. Okay, they're making it political, and so therefore I'm addressing the politics that go along with it. But yeah, now I do agree. I do think that she's not technically partisan. She's just kind of like in her own lane. She's like outside the box over here with her politics. And I will be following these guys as the year goes on, as the next 4 years go on, and let's see if they actually get anything accomplished. I know they passed legislation in New York to like end size discrimination in the workplace, making fat a protected category, that you cannot be fired for being fat, which in a lot of states you can just get fired for any reason anyways. You don't actually need a cause. So, but maybe New York is different, right? Maybe New York, it actually matters to them. I'm not sure who is firing people for being too fat in New York, but I'm happy for you now that you will be judged on your merit, as long as we're not using it as an excuse to replace merit with your identity. But yeah, but anyways, guys, what do you think of these articles? Do you think that they're overreacting? Do you think they're reacting just enough? Do you think that they're actually going to make any progress, as I asked? And yeah, like, subscribe, comment down below. This is going to be something we're going to follow up on. We're gonna see where it goes. I'm gonna see if I can find an interview with her. I really want to know like what she's saying, what she sounds like, how she talks, and she's gonna be my new project. Okay, guys, you have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.